So tonight we have as our guest John Raymond Alberto, best known to many of us as JR. JR received the Montessori Australia 2024 Innovator Award. JR's nomination was glowing, and it's a
Thank you.
pleasure to be here tonight to learn more about this Montessori educator. So maybe to start off, we've had a little chat beforehand, but
Yep.
um, we're just going to dive right in, JR.
Yep.
So maybe to start off, if you could tell us a little bit about your Montessori journey, something about how you discovered Montessori, maybe some of those influences. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah, jump in.
Oh yeah. So yeah, from a young age, I have harbored a profound passion for working with children. I vividly recall expressing to my mother, I remember that and I forget that moment of time, who herself is a nurse, she's a registered nurse and a midwife, and she worked with children a lot. And I told her, I thought I would like to become a children's doctor, a pediatrician. Growing up in an environment that emphasized caregiving, empathy, and nurturing qualities, I believe I inherited those from my mother because she's very compassionate. And this early interest gradually evolved into a clear career direction and pursuing a profession in early childhood education. Um, Before that, my professional journey began unexpectedly because I wasn't even thinking about being an early child teacher I think I started my career when I was 24, but prior to that, I was working in a fashion industry, which is I love. I had enjoyed over 4.5 years working with that sector, thriving on interaction with lots of colors, fabrics, and helping clients, believe it or not, being confident and positive about themselves. And despite the success of this field, I made redundant, and I think that was the catalyst that prompted me to assess my career path and personal aspirations. So before I venture into fashion, I also explored studying in health sciences for approximately a year and a half. And my initial motivation stemmed from a desire to become a nurse, which is my mother is, and this is something that she would like to see me do. Of course, thinking about, oh, I remember when I was younger, I really want to be a pediatrician, and these dreams are driven by passion and working closely with children, and also make a meaningful impact or contribution. Anyway, that ambition set aside after a year and a half because I thought it wasn't something that I want to do because it's a really hard to study, in health sciences, and I think I wasn't that passionate, so I kind of stopped there. However, my partner at that moment discovered an advertisement for a scholarship in early childhood and primary education in New Zealand, which is offered by Teach and Said. Although initially as uncertain about whether teaching was the right vocation for me, I decided to explore this opportunity further, and I enrolled in the scholarship program and ultimately pursued the bachelor degree in education. During my studies, I faced a choice in my second year to specialize either early childhood education or primary or intermediate education. However, I found myself gravitating towards ECE, feeling a strong connection to this field because I remember that conversation I've had with my mother that I'll be working with younger children.
Mm.
And through my academic journey, I developed a particular interest in Montessori education because my curiosity was initially sparked by personal childhood experiences. I was raised by my grandparents, and I vividly recall them teaching me practical life skills such as washing dishes, washing my clothes at a
Mm.
very from a very young age, and I fondly remember that and how much I enjoyed learning these essential skills, which I believe laid solid foundation for my understanding of child development when I was studying to become an educator, and independence and the importance of practical learning. It's something that really kind of resonated to me. So my fascination with Montessori led me to reach out to Dr. Nicola Chisnell. She's actually a pioneering figure in the Montessori movement in New Zealand and the creator of a university level course specializing in Montessori education from birth to six. years old. And also she did the 6 to 12 as well. And it was offered at the University of Auckland or Auckland University. Her work and advocacy for peace and social justice deeply resonated with me. I sought her guidance and mentorship in becoming a Montessori educator. She's definitely a remarkable mentor, believe it or not, emphasizing that Montessori education extend beyond the classroom materials to include the principles of social equity, peace, ethical development as well. And her legacy continues to inspire me, and I am very committed to embodying her vision, fostering environments where children love to learn and guided by the principle of respect, social justice, and harmony. And she's focusing a lot on those principles when I was studying to become a Montessori teacher. I did the course for 4 years because, of course, it's a bachelor degree where towards to the registration for teaching. And in New Zealand, all of us who work in this industry has to be a qualified teacher, has to be fully registered teacher or provisionally registered. So you could see the quality in the classroom when I was teaching in the classroom. And through her, she's definitely the person who actually, I was the third male teacher, by the way, and sadly she passed away in 2011. And then her course in the university level cannot continue on because nobody can take over that course. But at that moment of time, I was really privileged to be able to do that course. And I was thinking, leaning towards AMI or a university level training, but because of her dedication towards the principles itself, it definitely pushed me to say, hey, I would like to be a Montessori teacher. And there are other professors out there who kind of say, hey, maybe it's not you, but she kind of pushed me through it. Say, JR, no matter what other people say, just do it. And she did. And then that's why I'm here now after like nearly 17 years.
Right. So you've been an educator for 17 years? Yeah.
Yes.
After completing your training. Yeah.
Yes. I started when I was 24. And and at that moment of time, being a male educator, it's not well received. But I had to pursue that, and that's something that I love. Keep going up, keep moving forward. Yeah.
When you say you love it, JR, what is it that stays in your mind as what you actually love about it? Can you talk
This
about
is
that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very excellent question to ask. Having worked in the classroom for, I would say, 16, nearly 17 years, I have thoroughly enjoyed preparing the learning environment, something I'm very passionate about. I feel incredibly rewarding to see a beautifully arranged space that is ready for children to make independent choices. This setup allows me to spend one-on time with them, understanding their interests, their capabilities, and extending the learning experiences accordingly. And then I use that experience when I move here in Australia to support, I don't know, 13 services across Victoria to set up beautifully set up prepared environment. And mentoring is also my passion. I take great pleasure in sharing my knowledge with new or beginning teachers or educators, helping them understand what it means to be a Montessori educator or not even a Montessori educator. During that moment of time when I was in Australia, I actually mentored a lot of mainstream early child teachers to gain their full registration in different centers across Victoria. That was a busy time for me. I don't know how I did that, but I wanted to kind of share that, and I kind of use a lot of Montessori methodology throughout that time.
Video to work. I couldn't find the link.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sarah Jane. I'm just going to mute.
And also, diving into the Montessori's theoretical frameworks, focusing on the stages of children. I really enjoyed being able to understand that and understanding how the children develop within their sensitive periods. One of the most fulfilling aspects of being a Montessori educator is witnessing the children's growth. For me, it's something that I love to see. It is also amazing to enjoy seeing how they acquire new skills, being more confident about their abilities. I particularly enjoyed teaching children how to use the Montessori materials in different ways, helping them understand how things work. Engaging and also fostering language development and observing how they progress through their communication skills. And something that I really enjoyed seeing. And I think the oldest child that I've taught, I think just completed, finished his college degree. So I'm actually connected with his mom on Facebook, and
that's so good.
and she actually connected with me and said, yeah, my son is already graduated, and he's now looking for a job. I said, wow, that's amazing. So something I really enjoyed seeing how children grow and making an impact for me. It's something that I enjoy most. Yeah.
And that staying connected, I think, is really important as well, because you get to see that growth when they've left you as well,
Definitely.
and gone into the world. It's pretty special. Yeah, it's quite a privileged role, isn't it?
It is, and it's hard to say in a way that when they leave when they leave and graduate into the next chapter, you really feel attached with these kids.
Yeah.
Something is hard to do as a teacher. But as the years go by, I learned how to kind of compress that emotion, but just go home and then let my emotion loose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a skill. That's a skill.
Yes.
Yeah. So along with, I guess, those challenges, and it's interesting because you talk about the prepared environment and the almost the creativity and the beauty of that environment.
Yep.
And I can see that having that background in design must have, and in fashion must have come with you, into that too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm quite a person who always loved to pay attention to detail.
Yeah.
I love to ensure that everything that is ready in the environment, even the colors, the materials is set on the shelf where as if the materials is calling the child to engage with the materials,
Yeah.
And that skills that I gained when I was working, even merchandising, because I did a lot of merchandising in my previous work. So putting things together where it's very enticing to children is something that I've really enjoyed. And I thought to myself, wow, I'm actually able to kind of utilize that skills when I was setting up, a prepared environment in different services that I help create. So
yeah. How beautiful. Yeah. How lovely, because they do respond to beauty, don't they?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess along with those highlights, there are challenges, and particularly, I mean, there's larger challenges in our sector, and I don't know if you want to talk about that, like in early childhood anyway, if you want to talk about that now, but also, what do you recall as those challenges over 17 years? Maybe we start with that,
Yeah, definitely. I would say that being a male educator has been one of the most challenging experiences for me.
Isn't that disappointing? Yeah.
I know, right? I believe that it was not well received at that time when I was teaching in the classroom and working in a Montessori school back home. And the majority of my colleagues were also AMI trained, and I felt that I was not considered a fully trained Montessori teacher, something that is challenging that I faced back then. In fact, my training was at a university level, where Dr. Nicola Chisnell focused extensively on theoretical aspects of that. And although we also spent considerable time working with the materials and learning how to set it up, the environment, this is something I learned during her training. However, I wasn't perceived as experienced because of that. I believe that when you are not an AMI trained, your training might not be fully recognized as a Montessori training. I saw that when I was a beginning Montessori teacher. This was a challenge I faced while working in a classroom, as there are still insistent that I need to complete an AMI training to gain a deeper understanding of becoming a Montessori teacher. I remember having that conversation with Dr. Nicola Chister when she was alive, about whether I needed to pursue additional AMI training. And she mentioned that it was ultimately up to me. But what resonated with me during our conversation was that it is not just about the training. It is about being passionate about making a difference in the lives of children and understanding the principle of Montessori education. And she also emphasized that understanding these principles and embodying them in the classroom is crucial. It is not solely about the materials, and she did mention that as well. She spoke to me about the role of the educator, ensuring that the prepared environment is ready, and understanding my role in observing children by observing the child and being able to kind of analyze that movement when they are working with the apparatus. How to present the lessons, how to do group or individuals, how to give them the time and space to explore and make mistakes or make spontaneous choices. And she also mentioned about core principles of Montessori. If I do have that, then that means I am a Montessori teacher. That's what she said.
Yeah, so it sounds like she was an incredible mentor.
Oh, she was.
And
I tell you what, she was. She was always there. And I was the only male student back then, with over 80 students. I remember. Yeah, doing that 0 to 6 training in the specialized Montessori stream.
Yeah. And JR, did you feel the same? Like, was that when you were in New Zealand, that attitude towards the male educator, or do you feel like that was also the case in Australia when you came
Um,
here?
well, I remember I almost left the profession due to an incident where when I was in the classroom teaching the children, there was a particular individual physically assaulted me in front of the children because I think because I was not well, you know, sorry, I just trying to
All
remember
right.
that.
That's
So
okay.
in that moment of time, because of the choice of my lifestyle, it wasn't well,
Yeah.
I suppose received by type of this particular individual.
Yeah.
And however, that didn't actually stop me. I
Yeah.
took that an opportunity to stay motivated and
Yeah.
to keep moving forward and to continue to enjoy what I do. And back in the day, I remember it was being a bit of a massive conversation about male teachers in the field,
Yeah.
and I remember there were policemen came in and asking for interviewed and media and I said to myself, I don't want to be part of that type of um that moment because I don't because of what I do, I don't want to be
Yeah.
interviewed by that and then being out there and in the media, and that's why I kind of opt out and I said sorry. I'm quite a very personal. I like my personal space.
Yeah.
But really, that really kind of kind of question myself whether I need to stay in this profession, whether I go to primary school to kind of pursue more on that career path.
Yeah.
But
Where there are
again,
more male teachers. Yeah.
exactly. However, my last school when I was at before I came to Australia, I was privileged to work with 3 male teachers,
Yeah.
and
Great.
they're all Montessori trained educators. So I was able to kind of experience that and say, hey, actually, there are other places out there where actually there are a balance of male and female. So when I came to Australia, again, this is something that the challenges that we will have that a lot of parents may not like male teachers.
Mm.
It's all about, that's why when I mentor male teachers, you have to show yourself. You have to present yourself in a way that that you are likable, that you are there because of that profession.
Mm.
But it takes a while for those type of educators who just came from this profession to be able to have that confidence.
Mm.
It was easy for me because when I came to Australia, I'm quite experienced already. I'm able to converse with the families, although there are other families who may not like having a male educators in the service. But as the times goes by, they really enjoyed having somebody like myself who really having a bit of making a difference, because you could see the difference of having a male teacher and a female teacher. It's really good to have a balance of male and female teachers in the classroom. You see the difference where children engage differently. And it's something that they do in terms of children who have challenging behavior or children who are struggling. You could see the difference when a male teacher come in and the approach is different and they engage differently, and you could see how calmer they can be. I don't know. It's just something that it could be the personality or the energy that male teacher bring. Yeah.
So you and something that the nomination talked about too was about and you've talked about tonight as well, is about that mentoring of teachers and working alongside and working with. You've talked a little bit about it, but I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about maybe your current work as well, and what's happening in that space and what you're doing for that mentoring. Like, what does it look like? And I guess I'm particularly interested in that transformation of the teacher, because it sounds like you've done, and I think all of us here who have stuck it out for a long time in education have had to do that transformation and continue to do that transformation. But I think, yeah, if you could talk a little bit about that mentoring space, and I know you've also have an interest in leadership and yeah.
Definitely. So my role at the moment. So when I moved to Australia, I supported a service called Inspire Early Learning Journey, who is actually developing different services across Victoria. So I created the program. I was the teacher first. And then when they saw the skill set that I have, and then I was promoted to become the senior educational leader, where I help the owners, establish their services. I think when I resigned, I think it was I helped set up 9 services when I resigned. So my role was mentoring and developing training course for, I don't know, 9 services at that time. I think there's a lot of educators who are not Montessori trained. So basically, they need to create an accredited course for the service, and they were thinking of opening some sort of like an RTO. So I co-developed the 10987, not the Diploma of Teaching in Montessori Education, but it's the 5 years already lapsed, so they have to pay for the registration to continue on to keep that course into the training package, the government training package, I think it was. But anyway, through that time, I was able to create a training where it has been NASICO accredited at that time. Sadly, when I resigned, they didn't have anybody to kind of take over to run that course, so they can create their own RTO to run a Montessori kind of training. So at that time, how I mentor, I always in the classroom with these teachers. I was stretched in because there are 9 services after 4 years. And I was kind of juggling how to manage my work and life balance. It's huge. So, so I was pretty much, often becoming the director when the director is away, or the education leader when the education leader is away in all the services. And I always come to the classroom, role model, and role model and ensuring that the practices and the principles is embedded into the day-to-day engagement of the teachers with the children. It was a bit of it was challenging, but it was rewarding because I could see the transformation of the educators at that time, where I see how they develop humility and humbleness. And being able to see the child, developing those observation lens. So my current role right now, I'm the director of the quality and curriculum development. So we are now, we have 6, I would say 6 services that in operation. Sadly, the company had to sell 2 because it's not making profit. I
Yeah.
suppose in the area that it was established, there's a lot of competition where there's probably in that perimeter they would have, like, I would say 10 early childhood services. So my role is to mentor the leadership team and the educational leaders to ensure that the Montessori practices are being embedded into the classroom. So every year we have like a training course that we do for the whole year and a half that I created, and we meet up and we do presentation of the materials, and then we do online training as well. And then time to time I
Amazing.
come to the classroom and then of course teach also, because I need to keep my 20 hours a year, engagement with the children to kind of keep my VIT registration. Also,
Yeah.
I do come from time to time to go to the classroom and then mentor the education leader, and then they're the one who kind of run the program.
Right.
So that was my job, and what the secret is for to the personal transformation of the teacher. It's all about embracing the process of continuous learning and reflection, and that's something that I always tell the teachers that I mentor. It's all about growing, and always face challenges because it is rewarding, and also striving to improve themselves, to refine the approach, and as we all know, that Dr. Maria Montessori places great emphasis on the transformative journey of the educator,
Yeah.
highlighting the importance of introspections and the ability to adapt to meet the needs of the child. And this is something that I never forget when I was reading her books. And it's all about those reflection, reflecting upon their practices, the importance of practice, observation, and being humble. And also, being more as a servant, not just, as a conductor. For me, that's where I could see if the teacher transform into a servant guide, then you could see, okay, that teacher is transforming into a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah. There's a change.
There's a
Yeah.
change, yes, and and also we think about the gentle tranquility, where in the importance of being calm when engaging with children. And if you see a teacher being calm, that's, I could see that transformative process, because I've in the classroom that I teach, I've seen a lot of teachers that are not Montessorian, and when they come into the classroom, you can see the bigger energy coming in, and it's quite, and the children doesn't feel liberated when that happens. There's no free from from control or pressure, under pressure. So liberation is so important for the child, to allow them to be socially capable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a fair bit of trust there too, isn't there?
Yes.
In the child and in the process as well.
And being patient, being patient and resilient, that the child will transform themselves to be to normalize themselves. But it's about being patient. It's not about comparing others from each other. This is something that, for me, when I transform to become that teacher, seeing that lens.
Yeah. And I think too, it's encouraging that in the educator, for sure, about that patience. It's interesting, I don't come from an early childhood background, JR, but I come from a really like a secondary background, and the more time I spend in that early childhood focus group, and also the time that I spend in an early childhood classroom, there are so many demands on early childhood teachers, for compliance and accountability and record keeping. How do you keep that out of that space? How do you keep that at distance, and balance that? Is that not just for you, but also in mentoring teachers and leaders? What is there advice you can give because I can imagine particularly young teachers, inexperienced teachers, or also teachers who haven't, are really set in their ways, educators who are really set. How do you help them to do that? It's a hard one.
It's a very hard one, but when I began my journey as a Montessori teacher, prior to becoming a Montessori teacher, I did also work in a mainstream early childhood early learning centers, predominantly in Reggio Emilia setting, and also mainstream. But I become more Montessorian in that sense, and I vividly recall the invaluable guidance of a dedicated mentor that I have at that time. As a male teacher, I was so lucky to have an amazing mentor in supporting my growth. And one piece of advice that she shared with me has stayed with me throughout my career. I always keep an open mind. It's something that I would give an advice to a new teacher, whatever, and any teacher that I work with if I see them. One piece of advice: be an open mind, observe and learn, and ask questions about why certain practices are carried out in a specific way. Particularly if that person works in a Montessori context. I remember as a new teacher years and years ago, I found myself grappling with a practical implementation of the Montessori principles. Despite having a solid theoretical foundation, practical experience was essential to truly grasp the underlying purpose and philosophy of the practices. So I made a conscious effort to ask numerous questions and build that relationships with other teachers who are senior to me, where I develop fostering a supportive environment for my learning process as well. Engaging a lot of reflective dialogue is so important with experienced and non-experienced colleagues. Really help address moments of disconnection between certain practices or even personal philosophy, which really can allow anybody to refine their understanding and approach. And this is something that I did when I was a beginning teacher, and even right now I love reflective conversation. I also learned the importance of being resilient. That's something that I want to give, and be persistent, especially when faced with challenges. And then being open-minded, and being open-minded really allowed me to absorb valuable insights and adapt myself effectively. And that's where helps us or enable us to align our actions with the evolving philosophy. And also, not to compare yourself with another. This is some of the advice that she said. And this is always I say to people when I meet them, focusing instead on your own unique path of growth and development. And as a male teacher in this field where representation was limited, I actually embrace the opportunity to demonstrate my passion and competence, and proving that I belong in the profession, even though I came across a lot of challenges in my life, being assaulted in the classroom itself, and things like that, being called names and all of those stuff. And for me, I took that as an opportunity to be better,
Just that resilience that you talk about.
Having that resilience. And of course, we have vulnerable moments in our life, and it's okay to have that. But looking into that as an opportunity to think, okay, how I could be better, and then lots of research, read, that's why during that time when I was teaching as a Montessori teacher in 2014, I think it was 2014, I enrolled myself in a postgrad. And then because I'm very passionate with educational philosophy, so that really kind of strengthened my knowledge itself. And I think even when I mentor teachers, I like them to do lots of research, to pretty much know a little bit more about the different ways you know?
And how do you find that? I mean, I was just reading this week an article that came out which talked about the fact that teachers are so reluctant to engage with the research. And often that's for a number of reasons, you know, and because research can look very different in different ways.
Yeah.
But and it was making some recommendations about how to do that. But the fact that they're so time poor, I know myself, you know, I taught for 20 years and didn't go back to study until after that period. And going back was amazing. It was just the most, in doing some postgrad work was incredible because it was like a whole other world out there, and had wished that it could have sat alongside my teaching more, you know, and because it enriches what you do. And I don't know how to bring that to teachers because it is so busy in the classroom. Yeah, it's so busy.
Yeah, I remember when I was a provisional registered teacher in New Zealand, to be a full register to be registered as full register to register as a full recognized teacher, we there's a lot of work involved for 3 years, and there's a lot of research, a lot of reflecting on the practices, where of course linking that practices to Te Whāriki, which is the New Zealand curriculum, and there are other lenses of outcomes that we need to link to the way we do things, and we were assessed for 3 years. And I do understand completely that it's overwhelming working and doing that thing, but if you're really that passionate and you know how to organize your time, as a half an hour a day, I think even reading skim read some of the latest research, it really helps kind of put you more in that position where actually it's so important to research and connect, and that experience really was valuable for me, and that's why I became passionate about in instilling that in my leadership team.
Yeah,
especially in a long day service. I know they're so busy. There's so much going on, but at the end of the day, it's all about developing that mental capacity or mental fitness. It's so important.
Yeah,
so
it is.
So at the work that I'm doing now at Discovery Bay Early Learning in Kindergarten, we do have a coach that really help us to all our leadership team. They help us to build our mental fitness, which is really important. We have some PQ reps happening during the time where we do meditate quite a lot often, and we follow a sequence of PQ reps, which they call it, to kind of go back to the zone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds full on.
It is full on, but it really helps, when you are overwhelmed. So it's a time to kind of, hey, sit down for 2 minutes and do a PQ reps, go back to the zone.
Okay.
And when you do that, you think smarter.
Yeah.
You have more clarity about how you decide as a leader. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that looking at work life balance, how is that part of that for you? Like what does keeping that balance look like? Or you don't? What balance?
Wow. Balancing work and play is an ongoing challenge for me.
Right.
As I tend to be quite a workaholic. During my tenure at the previous service, where I contributed to expanding operations across Victoria, I reached a critical point of burnout.
Yeah.
Despite having a well-structured routine, I constantly engage in work during weekends, focusing on improving training programs for teachers and researching ways to enhance the environment. That demand of my role became so overwhelming for me as I juggled responsibilities such as setting up services, training staff, role modeling, etc., and then acting again as a director of the center, when required. Also at that moment of time, it was so intense because the owner approached me, can you develop a diploma of teaching in Montessori course? I said, okay, I can do that, which is, of course, it took a toll of me.
For sure.
And this experience prompted me to reflect deeply on my work-life balance. Fortunately, my current boss, which is Russell and Ilse Cagnassi, they're amazing people, introduced me to the importance of disconnecting from work and prioritizing personal well-being. This guidance has been very invaluable for me in helping me establish healthier habits and routines. So to maintain the balance, I focus on building a consistent routine that includes regular exercise, such as weight training. I love to go to the gym, which
Right.
helps me stay mentally focused and physically active. I drink lots of water, incorporating moments of mindfulness, such as walking and listening to music that I love. And additionally, I love to travel. As you can see, I think Kara would say that because she follows me on Facebook. So Emily, I love to travel, which, I love beaches. I love to go to the beach. I love to snorkeling or dive. And this is something that I love to do. And that's something that that those experiences really recharge me.
Yeah.
And offer refreshing break from the norm, even small opportunities to disconnect, whether through travel or engaging in new activities, we all know it can have a significant impact. So returning to university to complete my master's degree in education and leadership really provided me again a similar sense of renewal, allowing me to focus on something different from my daily work while still contributing to my growth. And then, I have found that these practices combined with intentional, like lots of reflection and dedication to self-care, are essential for maintaining, I suppose, a harmonious balance between work and play.
Yeah.
But
And are they
yeah, I
things?
do my best.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can't help. I have an assessment due next week, and I have to read 40 literature review, and that's something that I need to have to do for the next
Right.
2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
After work.
So there'll be balance after that. Yeah.
Yes. After that, I'll be like, hey, it's about time to travel.
Right. Okay. Because that's something important to pass on as well.
Yes.
The best advice I ever got well, I had a lot of advice. My first principal told me, when you think you know everything, it's time to get out. So
Yes.
that's the first sign. And then I had a teacher who, I remember it was very late and we were leaving, and she said to me, if you think you are ever going to get it all done, you need to go now because you will never get it all done. And I thought, yeah,
Exactly.
that those two pieces of advice have always
Yeah.
stayed with me, and in different types of ways. So maybe you did mention music, but also, is there a piece of music that you think all educators should listen to, or perhaps a book that all educators should read in particular?
There's a particular book that I love when I was started my journey in becoming a Montessori teacher. And I think one of my favorite Montessori books, is The Absorbent Mind,
Mhm.
which is actually, as you know, is based on the lectures given by Dr. Maria Montessori in India.
Yeah.
And I know it's really hard to read this book. It's like a Bible, but because I read it for the last 10 years ongoingly when I was teaching in the class, it really serves a profound analysis for me to understand the psychological aspect of the child's development, particularly in the most formative years of their life. I think for me, I would definitely, recommend that Absorbent Mind book, because
As a
it
core.
it's a core, yes, because it talks a lot about mental capabilities of young children, of that absorbent mind, that capacity to absorb everything that they
Yeah.
do, regardless of what they do in the environment.
Yeah.
And something that I want the teachers to see, even a small thing. Sometimes teachers forget that. They only see things in the bigger picture. But what about the smallest thing why can't you look into the smallest thing, that even the smallest thing the children are actually developing, you
Yeah.
know? So I
Yeah.
think Absorbent Mind, I think for me is something that I would like to recommend.
Yeah, great. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's a book that stayed with me too, and thought that
Yeah,
even people who aren't Montessorians, why haven't we all read this before when I
yeah.
first read it? Yeah. So what do you see then as the biggest challenges for Montessori in Australia? When we look at, the very small proportion that Montessori schools and services support or serve, you
Mm,
know, it really is quite small when we
mm.
compare it to other systems. Um, and there are a lot of challenges out there
I believe
to
so,
keeping
yeah.
that in play. So why do you think that is?
I think for me, one of the significant challenges faced by Montessori education in Australia is the shortage of trained and qualified Montessori educators. Also, many services claim to be Montessori based. However, when you observe closely, they often lack the authenticity that defines true Montessori practices. For instance, some centers might display a few Montessori materials here and there, but the teaching methods employed may deviate significantly from Montessori principles, and this discrepancy can lead to public misconceptions about what Montessori education truly entails, and thereby affecting its reputation and credibility. For me, that's maybe the biggest challenges. And another issue for me arises from the misuse of Montessori name for marketing purposes. Some institutions leverage the Montessori brand to boost their market appeal, I guess, often prioritizing profit over the authenticity of the educational approach. And I've seen this a lot when I've visited a few centers. This practice dilutes, of course, the essence of Montessori philosophy, and creates confusion among parents and stakeholders seeking genuine Montessori education for their children.
Mm.
I think for me also, the assessment and rating of Montessori centers and schools in Australia present additional challenges, I guess. Sometimes assessors responsible for evaluating these settings are often not Montessori qualified, which can result in biases or misinterpretation during the assessment process.
Mm.
I've seen this too when
Mm.
the services that I was at, where we have had an assessor said that they don't like Montessori, which is really interesting to say.
Yeah, it's really interesting to say. Yeah.
Yes, and this lack of understanding may adversely affect the ratings of the authentic Montessori settings. Undermining our efforts, and then the contribution to early child education.
Mm.
To address this issue, it would be beneficial for the government to consider, I suppose, appointing assessor with proper Montessori training to ensure accurate and fair evaluation of Montessori environments. Maybe I'm not too sure where you can get that,
Mm.
because again, there's not a lot of Montessori trained teachers out there,
Yeah.
which is really interesting when I came to Australia, because Australia is a massive country compared to New Zealand. We have a lot of Montessori trained teachers in New Zealand.
Mm.
Um,
And do you think
um,
that was because of the Bachelor that they were running, so that they felt like they weren't doing this double
I think
training?
so. Yes, yes. I remember my cousin when I visited Hawaii last year, and I recommended something like this. And there's a university in Hawaii that runs university level Montessori training, which is really connected to the a bachelor degree,
Hmm.
which I think it's quite an appeal to people. Whereas you do 4-year degree, and then you have to spend a lot more money to be trained as another Montessori trained teacher. Could be AMI, could be MWEA, it could be North American. I think there's another one, North American training
Yeah, Namek. Yeah.
online. Yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But that one, when I did my training, there were actually 80 students in my class.
Mm.
So that was
Which is
amazing.
significant, yeah,
That's
significant number.
significant. And she started that, the course was started in 2002, but it ended up in 2011 when she died. So during that moment of time, you know, my generation, you know, I was 24. So now I think that the reason why there's more Montessori trained teachers in New Zealand is because the fact that they attend that course. And there are other courses available also, which is combined to that degree in New Zealand too.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? I feel like I've taken over. Well, I sort of have, haven't I?
Yeah.
Any questions from anyone? No, it's all clear, JR.
Yeah, it's all clear. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask JR.
Hi, Vicky.
Hi, I'm in a car, so I hope
I know, I can see that.
what do you find is the last obstacle or the biggest challenge for educators in transitioning from play-based to fully implementing the Montessori philosophy?
Well, I think the challenges would be, you know, coming from a play-based setting and then coming into a Montessori structured learning, as I believe is one of the challenges that an educator may have. You know, even the practices itself, you know, there's a particular practices that they need to do when they're engaging with children, because and that's something that you know, it's something that the challenges that we may have in marketing, I suppose, Montessori, where, you know, they only see play-based a lot, whereas Montessori, I don't know whether it's not being seen because it's not advertised a lot often. So a lot of educators that I have met when they're transitioning into a Montessori setting, they struggled a lot. They struggled a lot in implementing as simple as engaging with children, learning how to stand back and give children the opportunity to have that space to problem solve. It's a bigger obstacle that they face because I know where they came from. You know, they are actually pressured, or if you're not seen engaging, that means you're not doing your job. Whereas in a Montessori setting, when you stand back, then that means the children are now actually confident and developing that capacity to believe in their capabilities. So yeah, I've seen that quite a lot. So that's why when I come in and mentor teachers, you know, we have to go back to the theoretical understanding of it to transform their mindset, and then help them to implement that through practice when they're in the classroom, which is hard to do, to be honest with you. And that's why they leave Montessori setting. And that's why a lot of long daycare services, it's hard for them to maintain the authenticity of Montessori because, again, there's a lot of resistance to change from a non-Montessorian to becoming a Montessori. Yeah,
because they're holding on to that traditional, I guess,
traditional learning, right? That play
Yeah.
base where you have to be with the child all the time, where you need to give the children all the entertainment, things like that. Whereas in a Montessori setting, we already got the prepared environment. The children are now taught or shown to engage independently, giving lessons after lessons, and then stand back and observe how they engage with the materials, and that's how you document. But in a play-based setup, it's very different. I remember when I visited a special kindergarten when I first came to Australia, I was really mortified because I could see teacher are allocating children in different tabletops with activity, and there's a timer. There's a couple of girls in the corner, you know, cutting and creating something from using scissors and papers, and a particular teacher came in and said, "It's time's up. You need to move because there are other children who need to have a turn in using the scissors." But and I was, as a Montessorian, you know, I look at that and said, "But the children are actually creating something, and they need time to complete their task." And then the obstacles that they have is the teacher stopping them. And I was like, I couldn't say much because I was just a visitor, but you could see it could happen in different settings. So I was really motivated. I said, I think you are now actually popping that concentration bubble with these kids who are really passionate in creating something new, and now you're stopping them to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, more and more, isn't it? It's about that development of concentration.
Exactly.
It's fascinating to watch, just fascinating to witness. Yeah, when it's working well.
Exactly.
We've probably got time for one more question. I'll shoot at you, JR. But I mean, do you think that there are areas of Montessori that need updating? You know, that she wrote many moons ago, and knowing what we know about the world today, are there areas that you think that need to be better updated to the modern world?
Wow, that's a really, really good question. For me, because I believe that the way Dr. Maria Montessori developed her approach is ahead of her time, right? I disagree with the notion that Montessori education has become stale, as it's, I suppose, the foundational design how Dr. Maria Montessori created remains timeless and adaptable across eras. I believe that her methodology was conceived with, I suppose, deep insight into the inherent characteristic of the human being. So for me, her methodology is always evolving. It's always adaptable, because you know, at the end of the day, you know, when the children are born, you know, what do we do is to awaken and nurture their hidden potentials, right? You know, foster independence, creativity, a lifelong love for learning, you know, and I believe that the method itself really speaks that, you know, and it's, and I believe that she tailored the methodology to ensure that it remains a forward-thinking and dynamic education model that is actually capable of evolving to meet the needs of, you know, of a modern society, and then while staying true to its core principles. It's something that I'm very passionate about. It's about her core principles. Yeah, and
So
I
you
believe,
would see,
yeah,
because, you know, I know technology and AI are often,
I
you know,
understand.
brought
Yeah,
up in that space as well. You know, having young children, you know, accessing and using that, and you'd see that could work. That
I
sits
believe so.
well. Yeah.
I believe so. I believe so. But it's all about how to use the technology in the classroom, where it could be a research base. Because I remember growing up, I have an encyclopedia where I go. I remember our neighborhood had an encyclopedia, and then that's where you look into those, you know, research that you need to do. Now we have technology based.
Yeah.
But for me, I would focus more a lot on movements, you know, developing those fine and gross motor skills, developing concentration, you know, and those foundational skills that they need to possess to
Yeah.
move forward. And then once they have that abilities, then of course technology and AI come in and extend that learning.
Yeah. And again, I guess it's about that prepared adult that
Exactly.
can pick that challenge. Well, it's been amazing, JR.
Thank
I've
you.
had fun. I could just
Oh,
keep
thank you.
going.
Oh, wow. I was a bit nervous. I don't know what to say, but anyway.
Yeah, there's just so much in there. I mean, even just unpacking, you know, how do we support? Like, do you think there's been a change in the number of male educators in early childhood? I don't see it, you know, and how do we support that? So yeah, so many things.
When I did my other literature review in my recent paper last year, and I look into the male educators, there's not a lot of change. We haven't moved forward. We're
Yeah,
stuck. We're stuck. You know, even services won't employ male teachers because I don't know. It's that they are seen, I guess, not capable. I guess predators. I guess those notions of, you know, shouldn't be teaching with children, and I've seen that because I experienced that. but I have to stand on my ground and change that notion that there are others male like me who is very passionate beings, and children need that. They have a bit of balance between male and female teachers in a classroom. But
and we've seen that change in primary.
Yeah.
We've seen it in primary a fair bit, and we've seen it certainly in secondary. But yeah, interesting, and maybe making the job more attractive too.
Yes.
Change
I believe so. I think advertisement is so important, but it's a long way to go. Unfortunately.
Yeah, very slow to change.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, JR, and thanks to
Thank you.
everybody for coming along.
Well, thanks
I really
everyone.
enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank
Really
you,
enjoyed
JR.
it.
Thanks everybody. Thank you for coming in, and I hope you learned something about me. And
It's
a pleasure.
it was a
Thank you so
pleasure.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Enjoy your night. Thank you so much.